My quantitative, my math specialist. Look at him. You notice anything different about him? Look at his face.
That's pretty racist.
Look at his eyes. I'll give you a hint. His name's Yang. He won a national math competition in China. He doesn't even speak English. Yeah, I'm sure of the math.
Okay, thank you guys. I just thought I'd show you that because I am sure of the math and I'm going to show you a lot of math today. That's an icebreaker, so I hope you don't notice anything different about me. My name is Carel de Jager. I'm from Sixpence, and we crunch blockchain data. We're a blockchain intelligence company. We know everything that there is to know about crypto, so I'm going to show you a little bit about what we've built and then some of the insights that we've gathered from our tool set. But to start off, there's one principle that I'd like to highlight. And that is that when you do a crypto transaction, you are not private. There's a big misconception there, thinking that crypto transactions are private or anonymous. It is absolutely the opposite. It's much less private and probably at the same level of anonymity as a bank transaction. In fact, if you do a crypto transaction, it's like you just put your bank statement out there on a billboard on the highway. Anyone in the world can go and look at it. And we do. We look at it. We know every time you transact. We collect all of that data and we crunch it and we create insights out of it. And that's what I want to show you today. And as I always do, I always give a little bit of Bitcoin away. So there's a private key there for anyone that wants to scan it and claim some lunch money. I just always do this, and I didn't do it, but then last night I thought, nah, let me just put it in because probably someone might expect it. And I also do track it. So if you do get that Bitcoin, just know that I'm going to track it. And then I do collect some insights from these kind of things. And over the years, I've given away a lot of Bitcoin. So some of it's worth a lot today. So then what we've built at Sixpence, we have a product called Ledger Core. This is like, as the name implies, the core to our tech architecture. And it basically collects data from every single crypto exchange, every single blockchain, and a lot of open source intelligence across the world. And then we crunch that. So every second of every day, we collect hundreds of transactions from across the world, and they all look different. We make them all look the same. We add things like debits and credits and labels and things like that to the transactions, and then make them all look the same so that it can fit into financial statements. We have an AI MCP server plugged into that as well, and then that's exposed through an API. So all of this data, I'm going to show you some of the numbers that we've run. All of this data is also accessible via AI. So the days of just having a data engine, which is available to analysts and developers, those days are over. And the future is data insights and intelligence through natural language. And that's what we also enable through our tech stack. Is making data available beyond just the analysts to strategists and marketers and CXOs and the likes. So that's basically our engine. And why do we do this? Why do we collect so much data from every single blockchain and every single exchange across the world? Well, first of all, it's to prevent another FTX and an MTI. Like we've all heard the stories. There's tens of trillions of dollars standing at the door from traditional finance, knocking at the crypto door, wanting to get a piece of this pie, but the reality is that they can't come in because crypto is chaos and blockchain data is chaos, and the likes of FTX and some of the things that we've seen happening in the world, MTI, South Africa holding the proud title of the biggest scam in the world in 2021, like it's just not suitable for traditional finance to get in. They need a much different layer between this chaos and what they are used to before they can deploy their trillions of dollars. That's what we provide. So we also keep custodians and exchanges accountable. And I'll show you today some of the stuff that we've gathered from South African exchanges, for example. And that's a type of data that we collect to keep the exchanges accountable, because ultimately we, the users, use those exchanges, and it's not only us. Very soon, it's the banks and the financial institutions in South Africa. They're all going to be dependent on these liquidity providers and these brokerage firms. And these firms need to be held accountable, otherwise it's the Wild West, and we see FTX and it's systemic. I'll also show you today it is systemic. Like it is so ingrained into our financial system, or getting so ingrained, it's so big that it is truly at systemic levels. It is to investigate thefts and assist victims. I think we can all agree that that is necessary, and it's to comply with global regulations like FATF and Basel and BIS and IMF, etc. South Africa is currently grey listed. I heard rumors that we will be removed from the grey list very soon. Sounds like it's a regulators are in the audience. Congratulations on getting that stuff in place. But like these type of tool sets and monitoring of the industry goes a long way to enable that. So one quick case study into a forensic case that we did, for example, using our tool set was a victim lost a master file of all of his passwords and usernames that he kept offline. It was somehow compromised. And then basically some of his accounts, but not all of them, were drained, came to us and wanted us to investigate the case. And then basically what we did is we drew a map that looks somewhat like this, that contains every single transaction, every single withdrawal, every single wallet, and we connect them all to each other. And then when there's loose ends, that's when we know we need to go and investigate, and we need to find those loose ends. We managed to do that, and the outcome was that notices were sent to exchanges because we were able to see the perpetrator, where they withdrew the money, where it was going, where it is currently sitting, and then whenever there was self-hosted wallets, which there was a few as well, like that's currently under monitor, and the moment that Bitcoin would move, we'd know about it. And more importantly, the moment it crosses a KYC point, like an off-ramp, then that's when we act and partner with law enforcement. So I want to give you some numbers. I want to zoom out a little bit and look at the macro view of South Africa, where we are in crypto, some of the data that we've crunched, and I'll give you some of those insights and intelligence. First of all, this is not our chart, but this is probably the gold standard company when it comes to chain analysis, and that is Chainalysis, the company name. So Chainalysis reports that at least cross-border value, they do some good reporting. They don't do such proper reporting on trading and things like that. But at least we have a data point in terms of cross-border volume. Chainalysis reports about $200 to $400 million of cross-border volume per month. So you can do the math. That gets to about 5 to 6 billion rands a month, depending on where the rand-dollar exchange rate is. And so about 80 billion a year. Our numbers show slightly more, but I do think we have some wallets and things like that which they don't have. So our numbers are more or less in the same ballpark. But something very, very interesting to note here, those dark green bars there, or dark blue, I mean, that's Bitcoin. But the light bars there, those are stable coins. And as you can see, this is 2023 data to 2024. I'll show you a little bit more recent data in a moment. But some trend to note here is that the stable coins are really, really picking up, stablecoin volume. So this is our data. So we measure data across all South African exchanges. And what we found is that over the last 8 years, that's the time frame which we ran it, you can see that in 2021, trading activity in South Africa peaked at 500 billion rands for the year. Now, to put that into perspective, that's at our 2024 GDP, that's more than 10%. So that is truly, truly systemic, right? That is massive. And it gets even scarier when you look at the on-chain data, which I'll get to, but that is absolutely massive. 500 billion being traded. South Africa has a huge appetite for crypto, obviously. And then this is divided into Valor taking the first place there for volume, and then in second place Luno, and then Altcoin Trader, we didn't look at the others. So those are the three that's included in this data set there. And then, strangely enough, it went down to about 200 billion, and it's been going there, but it's going slightly up, but it's been staying around those numbers for the last 3 years. This is also very cyclical to the normal crypto cycles, the bull and the bear cycles, so we do see that in the trends as well. Then, when you drill into that a little bit, into the trading volumes of South Africa, if we look at crypto ZAR trading pairs, you can see Bitcoin, the first bar there, Bitcoin just being everyone's favorite. None of the others having real liquidity. A little bit of ETH there, and so on. But all of them are going down, including Bitcoin, except for one, which is going up. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's XRP. XRP is going up. So it seems like there's a growing appetite for trading XRP, and it's gaining actually some significant volume. Actually, in 2025 year to date so far, XRP has taken a clear second place to Bitcoin, strange enough. So then, crypto stablecoin pairs. When Valor launched crypto and stablecoin pairs back in 2022, there was massive demand, massive liquidity. There you can see almost 20 billion rands, this is in rand, traded in 2022. I think there was some competitions or something like that, I'm not sure. As you can see, that blue bar completely dominated by Valor. There's no Luno there. And then it just went down, and there's been no interest ever since to trade between your Bitcoin and your stablecoin. Like, so people are not interested in that pair. They just want Bitcoin and ZAR or stablecoins and ZAR. Stablecoins and ZAR, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, altcoin Bitcoin trading pair, people wanting to trade altcoins for their Bitcoin. Again, 2022, the lot dominated by Valor. Luno is still seeing some liquidity on that. Some people trading a little bit of Bitcoin between Bitcoin and ETH. But ultimately, since 2022 to 2025, I mean, it's nothing material. There's no liquidity. People are looking for liquidity. Exchanges, sometimes it feels like they're in a race to list new pairs, but it's ultimately meaningless. There's nothing there. No one's interested in that. So now this is a big one, and that's stablecoin pairs, all right? So stablecoin ZAR, everyone seems to want to trade between stablecoins and ZAR. That is super interesting. As you can see, 2022, nothing. 2025, north of 60 billion rands being traded in South Africa between mostly USDT and ZAR, and mostly on Valor. Valor seems to just blow everyone out of the water there. Like, they just have by far the majority of trading volume. So you gotta ask yourself the question, why is that, right? Why do people want to buy stablecoins so desperately? You know, and when is a crypto exchange a forex desk? Maybe that's another question to ask, right? Because this is now actually more than Bitcoin, all right? And because you're not going to buy a stablecoin to speculate, you're going to buy it for some other reason, right? You want to do something with it. So, like, that's maybe a question I'll leave with you. I have some theories, but I'll keep them for myself. And then we move over to cross-border flows. And this is really necessary to complete the picture. Because currently what we're looking at is only on-chain volume. Not on-chain, like exchange volume. But we need to, we get a clear picture of what's going on when we look at the cross-border and or the on-chain flows. When we look at on-chain flows, Bitcoin peaking in 2021 at about 80 billion rand. That is similar to the numbers that Chainalysis reported. That's what we find as well. And this is inbound and outbound. There's always a little bit of a net negative. So we find that it's about between 3 and 5 billion rands net negative on the balance of payments leaving South Africa versus via crypto. Now, important for XCon and the SARB. They obviously want to know this stuff because they need to calculate for that net outflow of capital in South Africa when they do their financial stability calculations. But interestingly enough, Bitcoin going down. So we're currently at about 30 billion rands year to date in 2025 that's flying across our borders, again with a slight net negative there. But then, look at this. Look at this. This is stable coins. Stable coins, just there's no stopping this trend, right? It is just absolutely massive. We're talking 120 billion on average rands in stable coins flowing into and out of South Africa. It's mostly USDT, I'll show you in a moment, and a huge net negative. We're talking more than 10 billion rands of net negative, of capital actually leaving South Africa. It's not coming back in. All right, so this is truly, truly systemic. And so again, it's stable coins. You got to ask yourself why stable coins and not Bitcoin. Then what type of stable coins? All USDT. There was a moment there in 2023 where the yellow bar, which is USDC, seemed to have caught up a little bit, but mostly USDT. People just prefer USDT, and then we also crunch the different chains. It's not here, but mostly Tron and Solana. And ETH used to be the most popular chain, but nowadays it's others. Now, if you add the two together, Bitcoin and stablecoins, you get this chart here, which shows that cross-border flows are going up, and there's massive net outflows from South Africa. Like the yellow bar's going out, the blue bar coming in, and you can see that there's a big difference in the in and outflows, and almost reaching 150 billion rands per year in cross-border flows. All right, now going into this specific exchanges, there's no timer here, so let me just keep an eye on the time, or someone must flash me a card when I have 5 minutes left. Otherwise, I'll keep talking the whole day. So then, so if we look at the specific exchanges, there's some interesting insights that came out of this as well. So this is Luno Bitcoin inflows. All right. Now, where does it come from? We only looked at Bitcoin for this analysis to see where the money is coming from and where it's going to. We just saw that there's 150 billion coming into and out of South Africa, but we want to know where it's coming from and where it's going. And it paints a very, very interesting picture. First of all, as you can see, there's a healthy distribution as to where it's coming from. Mostly in 2019, mostly came from Kraken and Bitstamp. 2020, Kraken, Bitstamp, Binance, Kraken, Bitstamp, Binance, and then the market maker B2C2, Kraken, Binance, Bitstamp, Binance, Binance, Kraken, Binance back. You see, so it's a healthy distribution. It seems like most people are using Bitstamp, Kraken, and Binance. Maybe a lot of it's related to arbitrage trading, but it seems like that's the source of the funds, at least in Bitcoin. But then look at where it's going. This is 2019. So it's coming from Kraken, Bitstamp, Binance. Where it's going? It's going to Huobi. I just Googled how to pronounce that. It's really Huobi. So believe me, if Google is true, is correct. So it's Huobi. So it's the Chinese exchange, right? I think it's Chinese. So, but I know it doesn't have a very good reputation, by the way. It has a very bad reputation in terms of KYC and so on. It's a high-risk exchange. All right, so that's where it's going. So that's very interesting, and I think we need to keep an eye on that. 2020, Huobi and Binance. Binance started catching up in 2020. This is all Luno outflows. 2021, suddenly we see Kraken and Bitstamp, and then Huobi and Binance taking a smaller chunk there, but you can see it's still significant. 2022, much smaller. Huobi is now not, maybe, I don't know what that is, maybe 10% or so, and then Binance is significant. And then I lost my label there, but that's not Huobi, and then Binance. That's 2023, 2024, Kraken, Bitstamp, Binance, OKX. Now we're seeing a much more decentralized distribution, right? Take note of the date, 2024. That was the date, Luno Bitcoin outflow. No more Huobi. Huobi's gone. All right, that's interesting. So over time, we went from only Huobi to like all of these exchanges here, which of course, has a much better reputation, by the way, and a much lower risk. So we went from high risk to low risk. Now, Valor paints a similar story, but even more dramatic than that. I'll show you just now. 2019, where it comes from, Kraken and Bitstamp. That's where the Bitcoin comes from. Kraken, Bitstamp, Kraken, Crypto.com, Binance, 2021, 2020, or 2020, 2021. Again, Kraken, Bitstamp, Binance. I mean, it's the same pattern. And in 2025, year to date, the majority Bitstamp. All right. So, but then where is it going? 2019, that's where it's going. It's like 99 to 98% Huobi. All right. 2019. So there's something going on. 2020, Huobi and Binance. Majority Huobi. So like that's where the Bitcoin, the funds just going there. 2021, same picture. All of our money is going to that exchange in China. 2022, suddenly Binance is catching up a little bit, but mostly Huobi. 2023, Huobi and Binance. 2024, suddenly Huobi is much smaller, then Crypto.com, Bybit, and a load of others as well. And in 2025, completely gone. Year to date, it's only Bybit. So that's very interesting. And there are some reasons. I know some people are looking into it, but it shows you maybe some of the movement and volume moving from Luno to Valor. And Huobi was closed, or the channel disappeared on Luno much earlier than it disappeared on Valor. It took Valor about 2 years to also get this pattern. Okay, so and then some other interesting data. We know that the crypto premium in South Africa is going down. The South African market is getting a lot more efficient. People are bringing in a lot more crypto from overseas through, and I think the exchange control regulations are at least becoming a little bit more clearer as to who can do that and so on. So there's no more premium really, and I think this also corresponds a lot with the with the disappearance of Hobie, by the way. So there was some massive demand here in South Africa for crypto that might have been, Hobie could have been part of the reason. There's definitely some correlation between their on-chain recipient volume and the crypto premium in South Africa. So that's quite interesting. But yeah, currently nothing really. It's like below 1%. It's the days of making money via arbitrage, unfortunately, not there anymore. So then, what we also did is we took the data as like you can see now. We know where the data is coming from. We know where it's going. We know which exchanges are involved. We know what the addresses are there. We know everything about the blockchain. So what we also did is we used this intelligence to detect possible exchange control violations. And I say it's possible because really there's a lot of things that need to be taken into account when you're doing this. But we can, for instance, see people sending, you can see this is in 2024, people sending up to 400 million rands out of the country using a distribution of Luno, Valor, and Altcoin Trader. That's the three that we looked at in this case. And you can see it's quite a lot. There's definitely, I think, in the top 100, you'll find a significant chunk of people possibly violating exchange control violations through crypto transactions. So that's Bitcoin. This is Ethereum. You can see there's more than 1.5 billion, the top trader, on Ethereum, mostly to Binance. Those are the counterparties or the exchanges. And then it quickly goes down from there, but definitely, and I think that the verdict is pretty much out that crypto being a financial instrument now is that it is subject to exchange control violations. I know that there's a couple of court cases going on, but I think it's quite clear in which direction that is going. And then same with USDT. So then what we also did is we used the same on-chain data to detect possible tax violations or tax avoidance rather. So maybe that's also something that I can say is that when you have like that picture which I showed in the beginning, when your entire transactional history is on a billboard for the world to see, there's not much you can hide. So like if you are depositing Bitcoin into an exchange with KYC data, and you from your self-hosted wallet, but you withdrew that Bitcoin back in 2013 from Coinbase, then of course there's a capital gain. It's quite easy to detect, right? That's not, like we know when you withdrew it, and we know when you deposit it again, and we have the prices on both those instances. So like, so I mean, that's a type of work that we also do. And then I want to almost end this presentation by not only preaching this doomsday thing about surveillance and monitoring and all of that, but also to give a little bit of tips to stay private, right? Because I'm also crypto OG, and I love Bitcoin and I love the ethos and self-sovereignty and all of those kind of things. But I think that my message is that you got to be careful. All right, the days of just thinking that the regulators or the authorities or whatever don't have the tools or they don't know what I'm doing, those days are gone. Like, you got to be careful and you got to watch what you're doing. You can't just act normally and then because you're under surveillance. That's for sure. So like one of the first step that I have there is UTXO management. If you have a self-hosted wallet and you just use it on the default settings, self-hosted wallet meaning you keep the keys, you have a hardware wallet using Ledger Live or using Trezor Suite or using a wallet on your phone. By default, that wallet will always take all of your coins in any transaction that you do and it will bundle it together and then use one output. So if that's a bit technical, maybe I can explain it like you have $500 notes in your wallet, right? in your normal wallet, and then when you pay for something of 500 rand, maybe they're all like, no one really knows who those 100 rand notes belong to, but when you pay for something of 500 rand and you use all 5 of them at the same time, then we all know, okay, all 5 of them in the history belong to you. So like that's the type of analysis that we do. So you gotta be careful if you want to stay private on chain that that you don't mix your UTXOs. You also got to look at node management. So like you have to use a good open source wallet like Sparrow. That's what I can recommend, in which you can connect your own private node. And then lastly is, I think this is probably the best tip, is just use your Bitcoin. Use it. Like pay for services, earn directly in Bitcoin, don't earn in rands if you have the choice. Use it. There's like so much innovation going on here in South Africa with regards to payments, with crypto and so on. And it's a very, very good thing. I always ask people if they want to accept Bitcoin, because every time a transaction happens, which is not happening on an exchange, the history and the path and the surveillance and monitoring gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So that's also a tip I can leave with you. But then lastly is like you got to stay legal. You can stay private, but stay legal. Don't try and do illegal stuff, because we're going to catch you. There's no doubt about it. So like so cover your tracks, but like don't try to do anything dodgy. Okay, and then if you want to know more, this is a tool set that we're building. Ledger Core is the name, and there is like so many insights. I can talk the whole day. Like there's so much data, and it's very, very interesting stuff. And Ledger Core is currently powering a few dashboards out there in production. It's also within one of South Africa's banks, living in one of the major banks in South Africa. And I'd love to show you more. There is a link, ledgerwatch.io, which is one of these dashboards that we've built. It's currently in beta testing, but happy if anyone wants to contact me and get access to it, and you can play around. We'd love some feedback on it for now, because it's still behind an authentication layer, but I can give you access, and you can see there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So so anyone that finds this data interesting, that needs it for whatever business or monitoring that you need to do, like please get into contact. We'd love to show you more. There's a lot of stuff that we have. And then I don't know how I'm doing for time, but if there is time left, then I'd like this 3. Okay, that was good. Okay, questions? Yes, Adrian.
Friday, we had the record flash of
Yeah.
liquidation events in terms of leverage, and both Binance and Coinbase's crypto exchanges went down. And on-chain, I'm just saying, it almost looks certainly that Wintermute were behind manipulation again. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Sorry about that. So I was just saying, with that record flush last week, 19 billion assets gone, and both Binance and Coinbase conveniently crashed at the same time. And it looks like market manipulation via Wintermute in terms of market maker, and CZ's done that forever and a day, and there's tons of records. I mean, can you track that? And as far as I'm concerned, it's so blatantly obvious he should be back in jail.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I agree with you on the manipulation side of it. It's not nice to see, and also just this is the leverage that's in the industry. It's just absolutely crazy the amount of leverage that we have here. But I think it's definitely something we can easily do, and it's not a query that I've run, but you can do it on the dashboard because we have about depending on which blockchain, anything about 50 to 90% of the blockchain de-anonymized. So we know exactly who Intermute, for example, is. We track those market makers. We have them labeled. We can see exactly what type of activity they do and so on. So it is possible. You just gotta have to sit down and dig a little bit into the data, and then it'll produce you all of these charts and things like that, and you can make those conclusions. Yeah. There's a couple more.
So I have 2 questions. The first question is that what were the key challenges that you faced as a company in the whole data crunching process? And the second one is that with regards to the crypto that is actually moving out of the country and then not coming back, maybe do you have any data points that actually indicate what are the factors that actually drives that?
The challenges It's a lot, eh? Like it's running a tech startup is is challenging in itself. I mean, there's technical, there's marketing, there's everything. There's skills and people in South Africa. I mean, there's a lot. I don't think we are unique in that sense. We're just a big data company. We're collecting huge amount of data, and then we're processing it by applying logic to it, and then keeping up with the AI race as well to stay ahead of the curve. So along with that comes a lot of challenges. I think when it comes to the reasons why people are moving data on chain, there's out of two and two of South Africa, there's a few things. There's a few opinions that I have, and there's a few facts. I think that I just have to be careful not to mix the two, right? My opinions and the facts. But maybe I can say this. I do think that there's a lot of people externalizing assets, legally and illegally, because of our exchange control rules and legislation. It's a very easy way to do it. I mean, it's highly liquid USDT, as you saw on Valor. If you want to take 100 million out today, you can do it in an afternoon. It's like not even, it's not even a challenge. It's very easy. It's deep liquidity in that. So I think that's one thing. And then there's remittances, which is picking up greatly. I mean, we have 250, 300 COSPs registered in South Africa now. A large chunk of that is actually related to remittances. It's just people disrupting the market of sending cross-border money back to their families in Africa and across the world. And so that's a big part of it. People just plugging into our exchanges for liquidity. So I think, and then utility, and then payments, getting paid, earning, and we're seeing that pick up quite a lot as well. And a lot of innovation in that sense in South Africa as well. So payments being another big one. I'd say those are the three reasons why we're seeing lots of on-chain volume.
Yeah, thanks, Carel. I want to find out, since we've got such great technology in terms of surveillance, especially on the blockchain, why are the banks still so far behind in terms of tracking people who have defrauded people, etc.? Because, I mean, I do quite a bit of trading, and I'll tell you that the banks are way far behind in terms of tracking and just closing out the cases.
Yeah, I can't really speak for normal traditional banking. I think the systems are just old, and having worked with some of the banks, just slow. It's tough to get something done. There's multiple layers of approval, lots of bureaucracy, and so on, and very much set in their ways. So maybe that plays a role. In terms of crypto, it's having the tools and the understanding, getting that into law enforcement, into SAPS, the Hawks, and the NPA, and the national, the AFU, the Asset Forfeiture Unit, and there's a whole long list of them, right? That needs the tool sets. My background, I used to work for the CSIR, government organization, research organization, heading the blockchain research department there, and we tried a lot to get it into the hands of government and law enforcement. It was tough. I mean, it's another thing that they need to keep an eye on. It's habits that need to change and so on. The wheel turns very slowly. But I think looking into the future, the prospects look a lot brighter for that. It's a completely different mindset change when you're dealing with crypto theft and scams and so on, because time is of the essence. Everything needs to be automated. You can't have a human approving an affidavit, for example, before an exchange freezes the funds. That's a practical thing, right? You gotta automate the affidavit. You gotta automate the response to the exchange, and the exchange needs to freeze the funds automatically of the perpetrator that sent the money there. Like, everything needs to be automated. It's just, you don't want a human anywhere, because then the funds are gone. Like, that's the type of innovation that we're trying to get across. That's the type of innovation that we're building and so on. It's taking time. It's still a young industry. But it's coming. And then once those things are in place, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for a criminal in this industry, in this asset class, to get away with those type of activities.